All right. Greetings, everyone. Well,
No, you might want to turn. Yeah. Oh,
I was in my Discord still.
Yeah.
When you're capturing via Discord, and I was still in my Discord, having put out the announcement. It's a little silly. I'm bleeding. My hand is bleeding. You got me really good with that swipe. Normally you're not so, sloppy. Yeah, one of the cats hanging around with me. She's being a little shit. Anyway,
She
what's I
decided
saying?
to be a. She decided to be a dog
A
instead
jerk.
of a cat.
It's pretty good swipe.
There was like 2 layers of pun there. Anyway.
It is, of course, the 8th of March. Hey, kind of chunking through March here. We've got some interesting topics today to dive into. Some things that have been in the news, some releases, etc., etc. And then a nice deeper discussion topic and some discussions on what we did our week in the tabletop world. Of course, joining me is, as many times, my good co-host here, Worm.
Hi.
So, if you're all ready out there and we're ready here, we can dive into what the news we have, and I guess we can start with the second class here. High Adventure. You don't swack me. Why are you both here now? Rival Academies. I'm going to be distracted by cats.
Yeah, I might as well just get started while you're catting it up. Yeah. So honestly, it's kind of interesting. Like Rival Academies, like it does. So, it's very much a setting book more than like. It doesn't it adds, in my opinion, very little compared to other books. Granted, it's also tiny. It's like, what, like 100 pages, if that? 125, yeah.
Yeah. 120.
Yeah. So, it's so it's not super long, but it's very much supposed to be like running a wizard, like basically running a. Not even like so. It's running some wizard schools, but also like running like a wizard convocation where multiple schools come together, which is very interesting. Because there's some stuff about like the different places and like all their different stuff, but yeah, and they also add spells and stuff. Actually, there are a lot of new spells in here, I would assume, but they're kind of spread out, which I find is kind of annoying.
I guess for that makes me think that like wherever you're studying has unique spells to that area. Maybe that's why they spread it out.
Yeah, they're all uncommon or rare.
But it also, I do understand that also being annoying because it's sort of like, well, you have a list of all the spells.
Yeah. Like you could just put them all in one place and then list them out by school, or like by what school runs them. I mean, to be fair, not all of them have spells.
Yeah.
Probably because like you know, like the which one is this? Corvus Larney. Doesn't actually have spells, but it has like a whole like witch thing and a bunch of focus spells for witches. So
I can also see that like some locations that you might go to, like the school of Magambaya. It's the prominent wizard school in the world, so probably a lot of what it has is their standard spells. I don't mean that like because I'm not seeing the book. There could be a spell there, but there might be places that just use the standard spells, so they don't have new things to them. Or let me see. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Lepidstadt.
Yeah, Lepidstadt. I think I saw some spells there.
Okay.
I could look. Page 60 is. Magambaya, which is in, if I remember correctly, that's in Magambaya is in the Mwangi Expanse, right?
Yes.
Yes, they do have spells in
Okay.
Magambaya. And then, like the one that didn't have spells that had like some witch stuff is the one from India Place.
Oh,
So I think it was India place.
you say it and it makes my brain forget it.
It starts with a V.
Vudra.
Vudra, thank you.
Uh-oh. Slow. Backward. Sorry. Foggy decided her infinite wisdom to run under wires and pull them out a little bit and mess with them. I had to reset the yeah, so Vudra. Interesting. I think I was saying it before we started. Like, we get setting books, but like this isn't. I think you were talking about how this setting book is a little bit more restricted. Like the last big setting book we really got that I could think of from memory was the TMZ World Guide. But like this is not continent. There's a bunch of schools, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, school competitions as being an option, and you know these places where I can't hear you. You are broken. Can you hear? I seem to be working in here, but I don't know why you're not. Let me try something. I'm gonna try disconnecting. Hello, did that work?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, when Foggy did whatever she did, it broke me.
Basically, like the way my headphone, this is a wired headphone, lies, she likes to rather than go around everything, under it, and she just has her entire body ram into wires. As I said, rule in a china shop. I'm like, you could just go around there. You don't have to squeeze under there. You're large. You are a lump. Stop it.
Yeah, anyway, that's what I was trying to say before. Lepidstadt doesn't have spells, but they have a bunch of gadgets. They have a bunch of for detecting and interacting with ghosts, I think.
Maybe ghost spirits, undead, stuff like that.
Undead, yeah.
There's lots, so there's a lot of undead based stuff. There's a lot.
Yeah. You know where these things are? I actually had a hard time. They didn't just straight up tell you where every place was.
I think that's that's a weird thing because I know.
Yeah, it's not like an easily it's not in a sidebar. It's not in I it's in the text, but it's I think I only found one of them by skimming through it quickly.
That's interesting, because again, unless it says most of these places, I probably don't actually know. I know some of the big ones, like Magambaya, I know about because in one of my videos, talked about the cities from. Lepidstadt, why do I know that one? The Carrying Crown Adventure Path deals with that. You go to Lepidstadt in that one, so that's why I know that one. And other ones Sarkonis is a region, that's a little bit easier to know about stuff in there when they mention it in Blurb. But yeah, some of these I don't know where they're at. If it doesn't say, not looking it up, or not having to look it up, that kind of feels like it's a...
I'm 80% sure it says them. Like I said, I just only found... Oh, yeah.
You just have to find a spot that says.
Talador's greatest school. Yeah, okay. It's in Talador. Kithrodian Academy is in Talador. Or Taldor. Sorry, not Talador.
Again, though, it is an interesting thing because they're focusing more on the schools. It's not necessarily bad, but these schools are oftentimes connected very heavily with the places they are. The city of Lepidstadt is shaped by its college there. Mabambaga. I can't remember the name of the city off the top of my head, but the city-state that's there is based around them. You know.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. Like I said, it was just kind of hard to find.
I think the thing that I feel like from hearing about this, and I'll have to look sometime now. This feels like it is very good for what it does, but it is very tuned in. This is exact stuff. it's meant to build on stuff you might already know, or lore you might know, and help you out some certain things.
Yes. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, it actually gives you a lot about Socorus and Mendev.
Okay, that's good.
Like, there's a whole section in the beginning. Because the whole point of this is it's supposed to be about the convocation, not the schools themselves. It does go into every school in decent detail, enough to let you know about how they work, and their culture, and even some of their, like, higher-up teachers and stuff. But it's supposed to be, like, almost like an adventure setup, rather than, like, which is interesting. Like, you know, it's not an actual adventure, but it's like a location with a bunch of stuff. It's interesting.
So, what is the convocation, or whatever you call it?
It's a gathering of the schools in one location, like in Mendev.
Does it have a specific name? Because, like, I was trying to remember, like, if there was one. And I was looking up convocation with Pathfinder, and the only one I found was the unless it's the same one, it might be the same. Is it the Grand Convocation run by the Pathfinder Society?
Probably.
Because the first one was held near the the Wounded Wisp. Oh, I thought it was World War. But it could be the same one that they're just doing now. I don't know.
Yeah, it's in let's see, does it show here?
Annual Festival. I don't know.
It's in Mendev, which is it's
taking place there, yeah.
Okay, what's Socorus? Is that another
Socorus is the country that existed where the World Wound is. It's the one that fell to the World Wound. So it's the Socorus Scar now. Mendev is one of the countries that's next to there, helped rule, defeat the demons and eventually seal the World Wound. So it's only the Scar now. But there have been people that have been trying to.
It takes place in Nerosin, which is apparently the capital that was devoured by the World Wound originally.
Okay, yeah. Oh, it's the Six Schools Convocation. Here it is. I found the information on it. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, Nerosian. There it is. Okay, yeah. So it's kind of in the middle. It's the place that held off the World Wound for a while. It was like the Bastion, but it's more towards. It's on a few rivers. Yeah, so it's more about this location than the other ones themselves, but it goes into the other schools.
Okay. So it is about the event and kind of stuff like that, and it kind of just breaks off from there. Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah. So it goes into the whole thing about. It's literally more about the culture of how they interact more than what each individual school is like. It goes over their main things and stuff, but yeah. So.
Okay. I can see here. So it's Lepidstadt, Magambaya, Cathrodian, which is the Bard Academy in Haldane, Monastery of Unbreaking Waves, which is in Shadowrun, which is technically Voudrin, but it's also not because it was Voudrin settlers closer.
Okay,
and then
so it's not. I thought it was because it mentioned the one thing I found. Like I said, I was skimming through this to try and find where they were, and I saw Voudra mentioned a few times in there. So
it's because Jalrame is people that are descendants from Voudra.
Yeah.
It's basically like an island that some Voudran people got in a deal, and that's kind of its own thing now, but it is still connected with their historical thing. Mm-hmm. It's a complex history of a lot of crap. But anyway, and then what's the sixth one? Because Korsalami is the Korsalami is the Fey one. So Korsalami, Bard, Grodin, Magambaya, Monster and Hercules, Universal Lepid,
and Cathrodian Academy.
That's the one I mentioned.
Oh, Monastery of Unbreaking Waves.
Got that one.
Magambaya, Throne Academy, Corbisari, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only 5.
Oh, why is it the 6 schools convocation?
Oh, sorry, Academy of the Reclamation?
Okay, that's the one I don't have on my list here. When I was
Hold on. I don't know why, when I looked at it, I thought that was the beginning chapter, but maybe I think it might have actually been its own separate thing. Let me look. Reclamation. Oh, that's why I think. Are these? No, that's not stuck together. Oh, Academy of the Reclamation. Okay, I kept skipping past it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so they are. Telva Rents, graduate Reclamation. Honestly careful. Bit more.
Oh, okay. It's in Sarkonis. Okay.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I thought so. I thought that's what it was. It's like, oh yeah, we sit down roots here. You know, I'm like, okay, what?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I found some information on it. There's not a lot though. Not without having the book. It's one of those things.
There'll be more soon.
Rebuild Sarkoris, reunite its lost knowledges. Sounds like a good goal for the
Yeah. Okay. So they are actually. I think they're the one hosting the convocation. Is the idea?
Yeah, because probably they're. I'm gonna say, they might be historically an older academy, possibly, but because Sarkoris has been like overrun with demons until recently, this is a new version of it. Kind of like, well, we rebuilt the academy now that we're back home. It's not filled with demons anymore.
Well, they're rebuilding it in Neurosari or whatever.
Yeah.
The place is called the Neurosian.
Neurosian.
One thing I am disappointed about is literally, I think there are out of them all the different schools. I think there's like one person who's like a head person who's like not human.
It's an unfortunate thing that like I think Pathfinder still does it okay, but it is one of those other things. Is like humans are still the dominant species in comparison.
Yeah, it's just like. Now, what's interesting is, like there's an Undyne in the for the whatever Breaking Waves, the Monastery of Unbreaking Waves. There's an awakened emu in Corvisarni.
That makes sense because they are in the first world, the Fey world. You know, so. Yeah. Weird stuff will be there.
And everyone else, as far as I'm aware, is human.
Well, again, like, some of that does make sense. Lepidstadt, it's a very human-based place. I'm not going to say there aren't not humans in Lepidstadt, but, you know, it's a city. Same with Magambaya. There are others from other cultures, but, like, the city's historical human.
Yeah.
That they're in.
So there's a whole thing about invitees, which are other people who have been invited to the thing. Now, there are a lot more non-humans in that. There's a centaur, a catfolk, an axiomite, hobgoblin, a gnome, a Vikara Minui. Mooney. Vikara
Yes. I think it's the thing
which I think it's supposed to be like a naga.
Kind of. So I think it is very much so, like, with these big schools, most of them tend to be in very human-centric large cities with very human-centric things. So I think that's where, like, the other cultures or ancestries are, like, invotees, because they're not going to be part of a 6 big school. There could be members in that school that are there, but most likely the higher-ups in a lot of those schools will be majority human, because that's the kind of city it's in.
And then in the back there's a neat class, which is a just kind of an extra, which is the Rune Lord archetype for wizards. They wield sin magic.
That's an interesting one. Is that what do they say about that archetype? Because I feel like that's one that is kind of like a dangerous edge for player characters to go down. Not going to
Become trained in let's see. You also learn techniques of ancient rune lords. You learn their signature weapons and acquire the secrets of ancient magic. Items called Aeon Stones embedded into your skin. Let me see if it.
Rune lords. Okay. Okay, I'm reading up on it, the legacy version of this from
role-playing
Secrets
sins.
I checked out the old version of this from Secrets of Magic because it has been out, and reading up on it, again, update a little bit because it's the remaster version of it. But no, I understand it now. So it is basically with with New Thassalon and a lot of the ancient rune lord magic finally coming a lot bigger. This is someone that's like, I'm going to learn the powerful rune magic they have, and totally not be corrupted and become evil like those guys from the ancient Thassalon were. Thumbs up!
Yeah, okay, like, so it does say, like, people may have different levels for role-playing, different levels of comfort when role-playing sins. Like, allow them to, like, do something simple, like allowing a sin into their... meditating to allow a sin into their heart. Don't make them have to, you know, go all in, or whatever.
Here's something that's, like, this is more meta than actual, like, mechanical, but I kind of find it interesting because the Rune Lords became the Rune Lords of Sin. They weren't originally Sin. The Sins are corruption of their magic, where it started. And I'm curious that they're not going for the more pure version of it. They're going for the more corrupted version of you know, envy, sloth, lust, wrath, pride, gluttony, greed. Because like that was something that like I thought was interesting with the original Rune Lords of Thassalon. That like the direction they came from weren't the sins originally; they became the sins.
Yeah, I mean, so.
I found it. It was 7 virtues: generosity, love, humility, temperance, charity, kindness, zeal.
Oh, okay. They did with those. Yeah. Oh, I could have told you those. I didn't realize they were just the 7. There's the 7 heavenly virtues and the 7 deadly sins. Yeah. So they're each one's supposed to match. Like, chastity is to lust,
yeah.
And like, charity is to, I want to say, greed. Yeah. Charity to greed. Yeah. So like they all have a counterpart.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, but like, for example, like envy. So the thing is, you have to pick a sin, and you also get an anthema. For example, use your magic to envies is anthemas is use your magic to cause harm with the elements or void. So basically, you can't use void damage or elemental damage in attacks.
Interesting.
Gluttony is use your magic to protect others or manipulate minds. So you can't. So you can't actually have magic that can shield other people other than yourself, and you also can't. And you aren't allowed to manipulate minds. So it's kind of weird because it's like it's not. I'm actually not. Like, let me read this. The all-encompassing invokes a deep emptiness in its user, encouraging them to consume and consume with nothing ever feeling like enough. And then use your magic to protect others or manipulate minds is what you're not allowed to do. That's your anthema.
It is very interesting though, so nonetheless.
Yeah, there's some special Rune Lord feats, obviously, because it's an archetype. Rune Lords hail from an era where even a scholar was expected to be able to defend themselves with arms if necessary, leading to the practice of attaching a blade to the tip of a wizard's staff. You must choose a polearm or spear as your arcane bond. In place of an arcane thesis, you have personal rune, which appears on your bonded weapon. The weapon functions as a staff with the charge equal to your highest rank spell. And you can cast and spell you can cast and contains the sin spell from your sin up to that rank, including your cantrips. Okay.
It sounds a whole lot like the old archetype, but I would have to like sit down and compare it to the archetype. No, it sounds interesting. And I guess this is a great place to bring back that archetype that had been, via remaster project, So I guess we're going to get more of that, too, is like, in some of these books, we might get sprinklings of stuff, rather than large books. That's also not necessarily bad, I think, too.
I mean, I think I think that's one thing about Pathfinder I've started to realize is because they put everything online, they're like, we can just throw some extra stuff in this book. Like, you know.
Yeah. Because they're connected with the Archives of Nethys, and the Archives of Nethys, like, just puts everything up online. It's definitely like hey, all our stuff's going to be up there. If you're going to be fine.
Yeah. So, I did find that a little annoying, but at the same time, it's fine.
Okay. So, this one sounds like it's got some good uses, but it depends on what you need from it. So just keep that in mind.
Yes. I honestly, this is one where I would say, unless you're actually planning to run in Mendev and like actually run like a wizard school, like actually, I mean, I would say there's a lot of ideas here for also like running a wizard school potentially. So like if you're not going along that angle, I actually say this book is unnecessary and just wait till the information gets put up on Nethys.
Yeah. This is good for, you're doing a specific magic school kind of adventure, or maybe something related to the Six Schools Grand Convocation.
Yeah.
So, or I guess it might also help with other meetups between schools and stuff like that. But there are ideas here. It's just types of ideas. Keep that in mind. And
it gives you a decent amount of information on the different schools, like what they stand for and how they, and what they do and stuff. So. And I think it does say where they are again. I just skimmed through it real fast. It was,
Yeah, that's fine.
I've had a busy week, so.
Yeah. We are also we know that we're getting another book around the time because second edition Starfinder coming out soon. But we also know that we are getting the Galaxy Guide. And I'm going to share this article here because we know some of the things that are going to be in the Galaxy Guide. So it's good. We know a little bit more material that we are receiving in this book. And some of it happens to be a bunch of ancestries, archetypes, so some pretty good material here. The ancestries they're doing are the Astrazoan, Contemplative, Dragonkin, Kalo, Sarcerian, and Kala, Blaka. So, it's interesting because, I haven't talked about, Starfinder aliens in a while, so seeing some alien ancestry, and I'm like, oh yeah, these guys. I remember Contemplatives, the ones that are just floating brains with tiny bodies. They really are just a giant brain with a kind of vestigial body on there.
Yeah.
Look, we went all pure psychic. Dragonkin are kind of cool because they bond with people. Yeah, I remember a lot of these. So they're very interesting.
So Galaxy Guide is supposed to be built on more existing crystals. So is it supposed to be kind of also to bridge the gap between the two?
I think it is in a way. It's meant to be I think an overall, maybe a setting book? Maybe this is a version of a general setting book. Like the Pathfinder 2E had the was it the Lost Omens World was it World Guide? The original one? That was just that they came out with second edition. That was here's a little bit of everything on Galeria, and some setup with that. Mm-hmm. It might be very much akin to that.
Actually, I think I know what you're talking about. The World Guide. They had a
World Guide. Yeah. So World Guide is a Galaxy Guide. So I think that's what's just going to be. It's going to be this is what it means to be, generally speaking, working with hack worlds. What other kind of star systems and places in the galaxy you might go to. Here's some general information. I think this is meant to gap us from beyond the Galarian star system to the overall Starfinder universe. Because that was something they began to explore more and more. We went away from the pack worlds, and we went into, a lot of the other, the Atlantis Star Empire, and other groups that were out there, and things like that we were beginning to kind of connect up with as they went on in it. And I guess they kind of want to just make sure you remember, they'll be hey, if you're new here, we had more than just this one star system. There's a lot more out there. A lot of interesting ancestries that have, been found throughout the stars. Cool, check it out.
So is this going to be for 2E then?
Yes.
Even though... Okay.
They do say also the rules are actually compatible with Pathfinder 2nd edition, which is very interesting. Oh, I like it, because it could be maybe you're an ancient version of one of these ancestries that through like magic ended up on Galarian or something, like, or you're people from Galarian that ended up on this planet, or they did give the opportunity for time machine.
Even better, the better option is you're running Pathfinder in a non-Galarian world, and you want a dragon species, so you use the Dragonkin.
Yeah.
Etc.
Yeah. And it's like if you're not using the setting there, it is more options that you can be like, hey, you can just use these there. They might not have the same like technology-based stuff, but just the basic ancestries are there, and it's compatible.
Yeah.
I guess that's also the thing too, is like this way, which they kind of did in original Starfinder. They did kind of be like, you could legacy in the ancestries that were from before, a bunch of them, and they're just like, yeah, you could do the same thing, but it's like it's much more compatible now. you know, it actually is compatible.
Yeah, my goal is to actually start buying the books for Starfinder once they were doing 2E stuff, so I might actually go and add this as my first book that I buy. Yeah, it'll be okay. Because I don't. Yeah, because like right now because it's still the Starfinder 2nd Edition playtest is what you'd get with the subscription. Although they also now do the Galaxy Guide, so I might do that one. Oh yeah, it's Starfinder. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. More Pathfinder for me. I like Pathfinder stuff. I think they've got a lot of good rules.
They got a bunch of interesting archetypes. Abadar Corp representative. I'm sorry. The fact that Abadar, the business god, basically, the god of like money and finance, became like had a corporation based around it. Sounds so appropriate. That might be something that already was there. I just didn't realize. Space pirate, Hell Knight, Knight of Galarian, Xenoarchaeologist, and Xenodruid. There's some cool ideas there.
Yeah. Basically, I didn't want to get the playtest rulebook. I wanted the real rulebook when it came out.
I understand. So, it looks like they're getting some really good books to start out with for Starfinder 2nd Edition. They're coming out on a good foot, so to say.
Yeah. I think it's weird that this is going to be for 2nd Edition, but it's coming out before 2nd Edition.
I think this is coming out with 2nd Edition when it does. 2nd Edition is coming out later on this year. Maybe not, actually. Let me look through here.
I mean, it is supposed to be coming out this year. But... Oh, wait, yeah, May 2025, and this is also coming out May 2025. So, yeah. So, it's basically alongside. Yeah,
this is their setting book alongside it, which we really... I think we heard about, like, the big like, player's guide and, like, other things like that. We haven't heard a lot about, like, some of the other books, like this one here. It might have been mentioned, but we're getting some more information on what's going to be. Cool. Alex Guide, if it's some more stuff for Starfinder 2nd Edition. I'm going to be excited to at least check out what they're doing there and how they've updated a lot of the boards.
Yeah, and I'll have the book when it comes out.
I do like Starfinder's lore. I haven't dove into it as much as I've done like Pathfinder.
They basically went like Galarian is all like, okay, we took D&D and kind of made it crazy. Okay, and then we took that crazy and made it even more crazy.
It is like, it's high sci-fi, but it's high sci-fantasy, which is really the cool thing about it, I think.
Yeah, it is actually very rare to have high sci-fantasy.
It's kind of like it's like Star Trek level of high science, but then sci-fantasy instead, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, when it really comes down to it, the hard thing about a lot of those things is that, like, those other settings, it's like, most things that do sci-fantasy don't do space travel.
True.
Like, the closest you get to something like that is Spelljammer.
Spelljammer for one, and I mean, like, technically Star Wars is a sci-fantasy, but, like, kind of barely. You got Jedi, and that's about it.
I mean, that's more like I'm gonna be honest with you, psionics in sci-fi settings. Like, it's not actually meant to be,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. From learning more on Star Wars lore over the years, it started out as psionics and became more fantasy over the years, but it still is rooted
fair.
in that. You know, it is rooted in that like psionics level of things. It just became more fanciful as things have come out.
It was always supposed to be a little bit more than that, but it's just like, you know, it used to be more like, oh yes, although then they added midichlorians, and then it's like, okay, well now there's like a root for it.
I think no one talks about that anymore, which is kind of silly, but it existed for a while.
I mean, it was mentioned in a movie, so it's technically official.
They mentioned a lot of things in movies. Look, I'm not gonna lie. As much as like I complain about lore and anything, Star Wars lore is in its weird nebulous zone a lot of times. It is. Yes. At least Star Trek, generally speaking, doesn't counteract each other with weirdness. It can be just weird on its own.
Star Trek is very much just its own level of weirdness. I mean, like, at least it's pseudoscience instead, like, it's pseudoscience weirdness. You know, like, Wesley, like, going off into, like, some weird thing where he could freeze time and, you know, transcend dimensions. It's more because he understood things deeply enough in how the world works, you know, to transcend.
Yes. All of that is to respond with a yes. Yeah. Alright, cool. So, check out Vesta. When it comes out, it'll be good. So, I didn't really expect them to do this, but hey, you know, I saw it, and I'm a big Shadowrun fan. But the Munnchkin Shadowrun, which we talked about a while ago coming out, I think it was October of last year it was released. They're getting an expansion for it. I gotta be honest, like, I feel it's almost kind of random when Munnchkin people, the Steve Jackson Games people, do. Your link is annoying and I have to edit it. It's got a lot of that chunk text on the end from wherever I got to this from. I think I linked here from your website, yet you've got like. I hate this one. There we go.
It's query data. It's so they can like track what you're looking for and potentially give you other things, and also just so, you know, that kind of stuff. Like,
so yeah. I guess this is meant to be like more Matrix hacking related kind of stuff, which is kind of like an interesting idea. I guess the thing is, in traditional Shadowrun, at least for the last 3 editions, you theoretically would be running Matrix stuff alongside Astral stuff alongside real life stuff. They at least merge those all together in I can do them all at once if I really need to. So having a set more based on that to run alongside the base set is fine. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
You have layer cards, of course the weapons, different meta types, orcs and stuff, but items, layer cards. This might be something left over from the Munnchkin Shadowrun. I really haven't seen it, but I'm also not gonna lie, because it is always kind of like a little bit of like it jokes for the lore of in-game things that they're going on about a lot of times, or like little like, you know, satire in the Blade Percentum stuff. Was there enough Shadowrun related stuff to make these very like super interesting beyond like the original Shadowrun? I don't know. Syntax error, cruft, pass along movement, workflow. I mean, it seems fine, but again, like, as a fan of Shadowrun, you know, I am more of the lore than the actual like running of the game.
Yeah.
I wanted something better from I wanted to step up from 5th edition, but they went too far into 6th edition, so maybe we'll get a 7th edition that's somewhere in the middle between those two. A little easier, but not that easy. But anyway, I don't know. It's neat. If you're a fan of Munnchkin, hey, there you go. It's another interesting one, and maybe if you've already had Munnchkin Shadowrun, this is cool. So, hey. I'm just gonna have us move on though, because we've got some interesting stuff to talk about.
It's been a while since I played Munnchkin, but I also do like Shadowrun. I am someone who also likes the lore more than the game.
It's just one of those things. Is having experienced a lot of like the setting and lore of Shadowrun, it's just such an interesting world a lot of times. But yeah, no, a lot of the ways they do things can just be a little bit aggravating. You know, they set the mechanics of it. They got better over 5 editions, and then they basically jumped the shark when they're like, we're just gonna make it super easy and super simplified. And I've read the rules. It's been a couple years since I've read it, but like anybody I hear talk about it, they're not that good. So, you know, the 6th edition. But again, like it's not terrible. It's just it boils a lot of stuff. So, Vesta Mandate is I wanted to talk about this one because we don't talk a lot about particularly built to be political thriller RPGs. And this is a sci-fi political thriller RPG. It is funded on Kickstarter. They only wanted $300, I guess, because they're some publishing stuff. Putting it up on some places. Or they could have been using this as more of a, hey, we have this product, are you interested in it? You know, that kind of thing. That is a thing people do with Kickstarters. Just do a little bit of, like, basic funding and, you know, get the information out there to people. So it is funded with 13 days to go. So, yeah. It's meant for 3 to 5 players. They do say they are good for one-shots or long-term play. And it's on Vesta Station, where I guess you're playing a politician who schemes, backstabs, or master vision for the colony. So you're on this other guy.
You're playing a politician for like a colony that's a station? Or is this, I'm trying to wait. Where's the
middle point between Earth and the outer rim of the solar system? So I'm guessing somewhere in the asteroid
so it's a
belt.
Station.
Yeah, it's asteroid belt, like kind of around the asteroid belt, midway there.
Midway between where? What did it say?
Earth and the outer rim. So like, outer rim would be everything outside of the asteroid belt.
Okay.
Or wait, what do they mean the outer rim of the? They should mean the outer rim of the solar system. Outer rim of the solar system, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
They say solar system here. Oh, okay, so revolutionaries
does tend to refer to galaxy.
Yeah, so that's why I was like outer rim. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, that's.
But they do say outer rim of the solar system. So yeah, never mind.
But yeah, revolutionaries rested the way the corporate control Century go. Vesta Accords are lapsing now. The corporates are coming for the station. Okay, so I'm guessing they got control of things, made a peace treaty, and you're on the interim government. Huh. Okay, so you guys, you're taking place as politicians who want to stay in power and basically probably want to try to do your best to keep corporate influence out, so you stay in power. Got you. You're the corrupt descendants from revolutionaries. Wonderful.
Okay, so it would be. I didn't realize. I just found this out. Apparently, the Ort Cloud is past the heliopause. Anyway, so yeah, basically it would be at somewhere probably, if I had to say, around Neptune or a little bit farther than that.
Okay.
The thing is, so the outer rim, I'm assuming they're doing the outer of the solar system. I mean, it depends on how you define the outer rim of the solar system. But I'm going to go with the heliopause, which is generally where the solar winds no longer push back against the interstellar medium. This is generally considered the edge of the solar system, even though we have the Oort cloud, which I didn't realize, but that is outside of it. I didn't realize that was outside of it.
Okay.
Which is also orbiting our solar system, so, you know.
So it does seem like there's some interesting ideas here. Apparently, it was a 6x9 zine sci-fi political intrigue RPG, and they are going to put out a hardcover premium color zine PDF, and it will contain GM advice, rules, factions, modules. They're using a version well, they're using rules that are inspired by the Power by Apocalypse system. So I'm guessing it's something that's based around that, but it's their own stuff. And they do actually, I do like that they do say here, because it is a political intrigue thing, they do have safety tools and Session Zero that are mandatory to make sure that even player conflict doesn't go too far.
Okay.
It's the kind of thing where that can occur. In a political thriller.
I just realized I'm dumb. No, it is in the asteroid belt. That's what they're defining as the middle, for some reason. I thought they were doing legitimate distance, but no, they're doing idea distance because it's Vesta Station. Vesta is an asteroid in the asteroid belt.
Oh, that makes sense.
My brain had to finally click. I'm like, when you said Vesta Station at one point, my brain clicked, and I'm like, oh right, okay, so you're on an asteroid,
like an asteroid station, probably. It could just be that the Vesta asteroid's been converted into a giant space station or something. I don't know how big the thing is supposed to be.
It's only a little smaller than Pluto, so it's pretty big.
But I mean, like in the game.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
Probably
whether you're just like a small settlement on there or something. There's some more stretch goals. They got some more like different levels of things, so you can easily get like the physical copy and all PDFs for $20. It looks like. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I sorry, we've talked a lot about the space thing, but yeah, no. As far as it goes as a political game, I would be very interested to see where this goes because, hello, Momo. Yeah, I've never actually seen like a game focused on politics in a way. I mean, okay, I shouldn't say that. Vampire the Masquerade exists. But it's more just that like I'm actually curious how they would go with like actual like roles and stuff when it comes to this, because like Vampire the Masquerade gives general rules for doing a lot of stuff, whereas this is specialized for this. How are they going to handle the social aspect and roles and such?
This comes down to my basically not knowing a lot about the Power by Apocalypse system, because if I knew more about that, I could say how well we handle that kind of thing. Again, it's not exactly the Power by Apocalypse system. They say they base their system on that, which again, like, it's the kind of thing of like, I can say I base the system on 5e D&D as a D20 system. I can say I have a D20 system. It doesn't have to be anything like D&D. It could be based on it, like, to a degree, but it could be its own system. So the same kind of things. Mm-hmm. That's my lack of understanding of where they came from originally, and then where we don't know the adaptations to make it more big for political stuff.
I mean, it's a 2d6 system. I can tell you that much.
So if you're interested in Vesta Mandate, the sci-fi political intrigue thriller on an asteroid where you're taking the role of politicians trying to prevent Earth government or corporations from taking over your hard-earned, by hard-earned I mean your ancestors' hard-earned victory over controlling the station. Grr. Yes. Anyway. How was your day, Momo? Welcome.
I was muted because I was doing something. I'm good. And I don't want to take up too much time saying how my day's been, but I've been listening to a lot of Final Fantasy music again. It's very relaxing most of the time.
Yes. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little thing there on a weird and interesting political thing there. Well, let's continue our adventures here and move on. Get all good thing here, and let's talk about the Owlmanac. Yes. So this is a meant for games like Shadowrun, which I know Shadowrun by name, but not a lot for it. It's a supplement for that. Take a look at it. Yes. I know this one just by name more than anything. I haven't really seen a lot on it overall. But, this seems kind of silly, to a degree. Owl ancestry and 9 owl classes.
Nice.
Play a duck dungeoneer, spelunker delvers, Shadow Bark.
Oh yeah,
so it's got a lot
Dark,
of
we did talk about this at one point.
but it's animal themed stuff for it. It's basically
A lot of good owl puns in this.
Yeah, it is called the Owlmanac, but it is basically animal based ancestries and class stuff for your Shadowrun games. So these kind of characters appear in a lot of stuff. I mean, there's some very much animal-based creatures that appear in things. So this is, I guess, this one just has a lot more puns and stuff like that, which I guess fits with the Shadow Dark entire thing. I'm not exactly sure. Since again, know the name, not familiar with the system. Interesting little thing there. So. And 4 animal-based sessions. So that's owl, duck, dog, and pig. Or maybe pig. Well, they say pigs. Ha. Check it out if you're interested in that one. Play Shadow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of interested in Shadow Dark. I haven't looked into that one before.
It's again one of those ones that I've heard here and there, but I just haven't dove into it myself. So here's a question that I will kind of ask to both of you. Have either of you played Terraforming Mars?
Quite a lot of it.
No.
It is my favorite board game.
Okay, so we are actually getting a Terraforming Mars RPG.
That's so weird. That's so strange.
See, this is the thing is, I don't know Terraforming Mars, the board game. I know of it, but I've never played it.
Oh, you should. It's very good. You can get the digital version for very cheap.
Okay. I might check it out then. So that's why I was like, this is an interesting thing, because they're adapting the board game. What are they doing?
Well, there is like a story told in the board game over the course of generations. Because in the board game, you play as a corporation, and your job is to terraform Mars through various stages. And you get points every so much points win. So presumably, they're gonna do here's the canonical story of how Mars is terraformed by these corporations.
Okay.
So presumably that's how they're gonna do it, and then you're just gonna play on the various stages of Mars.
That kind of makes sense, because it looks like they have 7 books, and a big thing of it. It's the role-playing game, The Great Campaigns of Mars, Adventures 1, the Book of Mars, Book of Corporations, Beyond Mars, and Adventures 2.
Oh yeah, because you can also there's a couple cards for terraforming Saturn's moons in the game as well.
And looking at the cover of Adventure 2, because I can see that in the images they show, that looks more like you're farther along and towards the end of the terraform. So that might be Adventure 2 books are, or the Adventure 2 book is doing adventures that are at the far end of terraforming, and maybe Adventure 1 is during the process or something.
Yeah.
So, it does seem to be you're not supposed to play as one individual person, as far as I can tell. It says generational sci-fi that lets you experience from Firstling to Green Mars far future. But I don't know if that imply, because that's what says what makes this role-playing game different. And that's
generation is the time spent playing a particular set of player characters. In each generation, your group tracks multiple projects. Once you've told all the stories from one generation, you move to the next, creating a new set of players. Okay.
I thought it would be something like that. Yeah,
and they are connected to the previous ones, but how it is up to you. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Maybe you're so your mentor was the previous character.
That's kind of interesting. I kind of like this.
I mean, it's there are some. So it's actually more of a almost like a world building RPG, which are a thing.
Yeah.
You do play more specific characters, so it kind of blends the two in a way.
It is very interesting because it's like doing a series of adventures, but you change your characters each time, but then they're connected to it, and the story does connect together. So it is it's something that you can do in other more traditional RPG or fantasy one, like in D&D. I could have a series of adventures that are technically connected together, and the characters can be connected to the old ones.
Yeah,
I actually did a couple of campaigns that were vaguely connected that way, but. To have the game based around is very interesting. Huh? Oh, they have 4 ages then, too. Age of Colonization, Age of Corporations, Age of Megalopolises, and the Green Age.
Green Age will be when Mars is done, I presume. Then you move on to Jupiter. Oh, I'm sorry, it was Jupiter, not Saturn.
Okay. So the generational stuff being built in is very interesting. I understand now why it's 7 goddamn books.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How much does Bad Boy cost?
$60
That's
for the digital.
It's a pretty good deal for all books.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like €159.
Yeah, if you want to buy all the books, yeah, $159. That's to actually get the physical copies.
For a pretty good deal, my opinion.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd probably go for the $60 that's just the PDFs. I'm very curious about this, so I'll probably end up backing it because it's just.
I also may end up backing it. I mean, again, it's my favorite board game. I legitimately am of the opinion it is the best board game ever made.
My whole thing is just I really like unique rule sets. I love just reading rule books. I read rule books for fun. I even talked to Tantus about starting a section where I just talk about something like once a month, a random rule book I've been reading.
Yeah, there's definitely some very cool things here, and it is very complex and huge. The amount of stuff they definitely have here, like again, like it is a seven book set, is a lot.
I will say, because there was a while back an issue where in one of the expansions of the board games, this company was caught using AI art. I'm going to say this: they have pledged going forward they will not be use AI art in any products going forward.
Okay. So yeah. I guess it's kind of one of those things is
because they're selling a product, you shouldn't use AI gen images in a product you're selling.
I agree. I mean, I feel like you could get away with it, but you'd have to state it. That's my opinion. Like,
you'd have to inform people like where you got it from too. There's a lot of honestly things talking about.
Yeah, that's also the other thing is the database, because it's just kind of weird when it's like, you need a good database, but that's also good luck finding one. Yeah, honestly, my biggest problem is that like most people who use AR and sell products generally do it to make as much money as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So like there are very few people who use AR and are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take the time to make the AI art look good, which you can do. You can make the AI art look pretty good if you work on it real hard. But at that point, just hire an artist because you're probably gonna hire someone for the same amount of work.
Yeah. So yeah, so I think that's Shadowrun Games. So, I mean,
yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, I backed it. I'm curious. I mean, I kind of also want to back the, or I'm also going to back the, what was the other thing? Social thing. Because I'm curious about that, you know?
My brain works. The
one we just did.
Vesta mandate.
Yeah. I mean,
so, yeah.
My whole thing is just, I do like to get the PDF versions of things. It also tends not to be too expensive.
So yeah, Terraforming Mars has reached this level of funding on BackerKit with both agents. So go and check it out if you're interested in that. Just because it is a 100-page Quickstart for free, I wanted to mention this one. I don't think I talked a lot about this. Kult Divinity Lost, which I think is a RPG that Modiphius is publishing. But when I saw there's a 100-page Quickstart that they're offering for free for $0 there, I'm like, that's a lot for a Quickstart. Honestly, usually I'm like 30, 40, maybe 50 pages is kind of where I'm at.
I think the biggest ones I've ever seen are like 50 pages.
Yeah. So let's see. The setting here is the world around us is a lie. Mankind's trapped in illusion. Okay. This is a very just describe to me the setting. I guess it's all about like.
I think it's a grim dark setting.
Yeah, a modern day grim dark setting. It sounds like. So anyway, the original Kult game was released in 1991, and this is the 4th edition of it. So it is a newer rule set, updated the setting for present day, and yeah, if you want to check this game out and see if you'd be interested in it, hey, there's a free quick start up on Modiphius' site.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yippee!
It is 100 pages too. It's a heck of a lot of pages. So, alright. Let's talk about monsters.
Hi, monsters.
This was an interesting looking board game that, like, it just caught my eye. That Renegade Game Studios is doing here. Monsters Menace the World. Where you take the role of monsters and are basically like, I guess it's a little bit of like, you're trying to gain infamy, trying to... Okay, so the player controls a monster that they use to menace the planet or gain infamy, as well as one military faction to slow down or stop other players' monsters to do the same. So it's a little bit like... I feel there is like an essence of like, probably like, maybe Risk in there, because it's like the world map, but there's a lot that's like not based on that. So like, I look at this map and it kind of looks like a neat board game. But I don't know. It's interesting.
It's
I also like giant monsters. So
it reminds me of a bit like Pandemic.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking too. When
that was what I was thinking. The name was escaping my brain for a minute there, but as soon as you said it, I'm like, oh yeah.
I also like this is one of them is called the Chupa Colosso. It's like a giant chupacabra.
Chupa Colosso, Kong, so I guess that's Kong. Nessie, and Strigokia. Oh, there's more of them.
Tomanagi is like Godzilla.
Okay. Zorb and the minions. One of them is like a eyeball monster.
Uh-huh.
I think the eyeball might be Zorb. That sounds like an eyeball name.
It does.
I like, it's got, the Chupa Colosso, Conk, and Nessie.
Hey, legally distinct.
I mean, Nessie's still just Nessie. They're like...
Well, no one owns Nessie.
Mm-hmm.
It is just
It's not a multi-billion-dollar corporation that owns rights to the name Nessie. Like they do.
True. It's kind of really fun, but so yeah, Renegade's got an interesting little game that they're releasing in June, so it's coming up pretty soon. And they got pre-orders open.
Oh, well, if I had real-life friends, I'd consider it.
If I had time to organize real-life things.
I keep thinking about organizing real-life things, and I just don't.
It's very hard when everyone works different schedules.
Yeah.
It sucks that I'm not near any of you, because I would actually be someone who would organize that stuff.
Like, I'm like half an hour. Like, at very least, I could probably arrange to get people to, like, maybe like once a month come in towards where I'm at or something, or maybe where like Blaze is at or something. But like closer there. But that's still like sometimes. But, games like this make me kind of want to do that. But then again, usually going to like a diner or a restaurant. I guess I've played plenty of board games at a diner. Let me tell you that. That's a place you can sometimes play, especially late at night. But if you're interested in this game, Monsters Menace the World, I like giant monsters. It's one of my big things I'm a fan of, and this looks kind of good.
It's one of those things I'll pin in my brain, and if I ever remember it again, and I have friends and stuff at the time, might go and buy it.
Yeah. So, I got 2 articles here all about the fact that the people who wrote the D&D movie are now apparently writing a Monopoly movie. At least the script for it.
So,
I'm gonna
say my opinions on this, because there is a Tetris movie. It is not what you think it is. So this could be a similar thing of like a very dramatized. This is how this thing came to exist, because that's what the Tetris movie is. It's not actually about Tetris. It's about the story of how Tetris was made and licensed to Nintendo. It's actually a very good movie. Unfortunately, locked to Apple TV.
Interesting. Yeah. So this is John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein. There they are. I found it. There was a picture of them on the Hollywood Reporter article. I didn't originally found that there, but I grabbed that one because I mean that they're better on movie reports, honestly. Hollywood Reporter. So, that it's an interesting thing because it could be like that, but like
it could also just be a weird movie about Monopoly.
Yeah. I mean, what was that movie where it was like a really weird video game movie where it's like pixels?
Oh god.
I was thinking of Battleship, the movie.
Oh, that's
a movie.
Man, now that's a terrible movie that I've actually seen.
I did too. I did not go to theaters, fortunately. I watched
it on TV one day because it was just on. I'm like, I just put this on in the background.
I haven't seen. Honestly, my full experience with Pixels is watching the CinemaSins of it.
See, like, here's the thing. I spent much of my young teen years and young adults doing all of my work with the Sci-Fi Channel on in the background. So, like, I've seen some of the worst movies imaginable. Yeah, shit like Pixels and Battleship don't bother me because I've seen worse.
Interesting. So, the history... This isn't the first time we heard about a Monopoly movie, and I'm looking at the thing here.
Yeah, this has been, like, a thing in development for a while.
So, Lionsgate was trying to have a version of this with Kevin Hart starring in a Tim Story-directed version of it.
I would watch that.
But now, of course, because I really also didn't realize, I think we may have talked about it, that it was Lionsgate that purchased Hasbro's film and TV arm, E1, when they sold it. I don't know if we mentioned that it was Lionsgate that purchased it. I know we were talking about when it was being sold, but again, hey, there's that. We know who purchased E1, their film division. So it kind of makes sense that they're, using the people that are in there to do the Hasbro stuff. I guess. I don't know.
No, I mean, we deserve this over the D&D movie sequel because no one went and fucking watched the D&D movie, so it's not going to get a sequel.
I do like the...
I don't want to watch it still. Funny enough, it actually apparently got watched a lot when it got to streaming.
It's like a darling on streaming services. It's very good.
The first article has a statement of, let's just make a sequel to D&D. That seems like a much better idea.
Honestly, it will probably make them more money. if they're actually going to make one based off like Monopoly as a concept rather than like the making of it, then yes, D&D sequel will probably make them more money.
Well, okay.
I feel like they saw Barbie did like $1 billion. Like, we could do that, but
honestly,
don't really have any IPs that work in that way.
Honestly, I remember when Barbie came about, like, there was so many like proposals apparently for things like Thomas the Tank Engine movies and that kind of stuff, or like weird little action figure movies, and it's all like, look, it's not the IP that sold that made it the hit, it's the direction and the people and etc.
Yes.
Also, the very, very clever marketing they did with Oppenheimer helped a lot.
Yes. So I will also take a step back here and just say the concept behind what you could do with a Monopoly movie could actually kind of work.
You could do so much.
Because again, like, you could do a period kind of like, was it like Wolf of Wall Street, very like investment, like heavy kind of thing?
Which is also a very good movie.
But you could do something like that with a period piece that would be based around, gaining control of Atlantic City, and getting Monopoly.
You could do a super dramatized version of how the Parker Brothers stole the board game.
Ooh, that'd be good too. So it's not outside the realm of possibility. There are things to do with the concept of it. We just don't know what the people that are writing the script are going to go with it, and
it's basically just, this is now a thing that's in the works, and it could go anywhere.
Will they finally get this developed? I don't know. It's got new life to this project, I guess, because Lionsgate bought E1, so maybe. Anyway, so Pokemon cards. I know very little about them, but I do know they're bringing back them. Yeah, they're bringing back Mega Evolutions with their newer expansions that are coming.
I have friends who will definitely be excited about this because they collect these things.
Yeah. I guess this is like... I had seen something on someone, like, there like, someone was looking at previews of some of these. I cannot remember who was doing it and where. Oh no, when did they... The Pokemon Direct they had. So they did show off a couple of the cards there.
Didn't watch.
I watched someone else watch it that, like, does some Pokemon-related content. So, like, I cared more about their, opinions on it than the actual thing. Yeah.
I mean, Pokemon cards are very popular, so, like... Again, I don't actually know if people play the game commonly enough outside of, like, tournaments and shit.
Okay,
yes.
Wait.
I can only gauge how popular the actual game is.
Okay, sorry. I just want to tangent here for a second. Speaking of Pokemon, did you guys hear about the Charizard-shaped Cheeto that sold for $$88,000?
It's very upsetting that people are stupid.
Oh, wow! I did not hear about. I have a 9 there.
Anyway,
that was a whole thing.
I'll briefly link to put a 9 there exactly. I keep trying to click off that and do stuff like that. Anyway, so again, like, this is an interesting thing that's coming up. It appears to be, I guess, very powerful cards if you're actually playing the game, and I guess there might be some cards that would be popular for collectors too, in amongst them. We are also getting Mega Pokemon back with the new Legends game, so yeah, it makes sense for them to pop up in the trading card game.
Don't know what a Mega Pokemon is.
It's a thing.
As someone who stopped playing Pokemon games in 2005.
I technically stopped way old before then, actually playing the game, until I started Pokemon Go.
These are an X and Y thing. Okay.
I played X and Y, and then I don't think I played after that. What came after that?
Very slowly going through them in my old age.
Stopped around probably 2000, 2001 because Gold and Silver were the ones I last had.
The last ones I played were Diamond and Pearl, which I think were like around 2006 or something.
Those are still my favorites, honestly.
I can also remember why I didn't go to the next one. It took me a very long time before I could get a Game Boy Advance.
That is fair.
And so by the time I got that, I didn't get a lot of games, and I didn't get Pokemon games.
Yeah, I mean, so the big thing for me, I didn't play Ruby and Sapphire because I was poor at the time. I forgot how I got X. I got X, not Y, but Sun and Moon. Wait, no, Sun and Moon came out on the 3DS.
Anyway, it was a 3DS game, yeah.
Well, Sword and Shield I definitely wouldn't have gotten because that was Switch.
Sword and Shield's bad.
I know.
I played like an hour of it and returned it.
I'm not gonna lie, okay, side note here, I have been trying to use Pokemon Go to do like a living shiny dex in Pokemon Home. I'm so tempted just to get some games to speed this up because Pokemon Go is good in some ways, terrible in others for doing this entire process.
Yeah.
So might be worth investment of time / money to actually go and buy a game. Might be cheaper for me.
Yes.
I think that I haven't heard much about Scarlet and Violet. The big thing that I hate about Pokemon nowadays is that it's gotten easier and easier and easier every game, and it's now just like a cakewalk, and there's no challenge to it.
It is also primarily for children.
Yes, but
the post game for Scarlet and Violet wasn't too bad for a little bit of difficulty spike, but it wasn't a confused.
The main problem with Scarlet and Violet is it had about 10 frames a second.
Yes, I heard that.
It had horrific performance.
Yeah.
Quite embarrassing, actually.
Yeah.
Legends Arceus was much better.
It's wild to me. This is a side. It's wild to me that Scarlet Violet runs that way when Xenoblade 3, a much better looking game, runs at a consistent frame rate.
It
just goes to show that Game Freak is severely understaffed and severely overworked by their overlords.
Yeah. I mean,
two things that they could choose to do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you actually look at it, I actually hadn't seen this before, but yeah. So it used to be like several years between editions.
It's very It's
and now
very,
it's like 2019,
yeah.
And now like 29 for main editions, it's like Sun and Moon 2016, then 2019 Sword and Shield 2022. Whereas and then they have a bunch of other games in between and like DLCs and stuff.
This is the thing though that might be good here because we're getting Legends AZ, which is another Legends game this year. This is like 3 years after the last mainline game. We're probably not getting another mainline game for at least a year. That might be good. They might have more time to cook whatever the next generation is. So I am generally speaking because I'm just saying the possibility exists. Whether or not that's true, I have no idea.
Well, it's also like the next mainline is going to be a Switch 2 game.
Yeah.
So it might run better. The Switch is not a particularly powerful console.
No, people need to remember that the Switch came out with the Xbox.
It's technically a 8th generation console, I think.
Yeah.
Not a 9th generation.
Yeah.
It's been out there a while, and it on stage. So anyway, just finishing up this little discussion here. If you are a fan of the Pokemon TCG, either collecting it or maybe even playing it, there's some interesting stuff popping in to be seen. You want to keep it up. All right, are we ready for our final group of main topics today for the news? And that's some I said Warhammer. It's Warhammer stuff.
Anyway. Lorehammer, I believe, is a podcast. So you're not wrong in saying that is a thing that exists.
So, I have your links, but I also took advice from, of course, what you had said, and I am linking first a codex, because I saw it was up on Google, because we're getting a Emperor's Children codex.
Yes, apparently. This is up for sale finally. Yeah. I think it's on pre-order now.
10th edition.
I am very excited for it because I am a big Chaos fan. When I play, I tend to play Chaos, Necrons, or Orcs because I hate the Imperium. They're boring. And you hit that point eventually in Warhammer where you look at the setting and you either think everyone's evil, so I'm going to play the most evil guy, or this is fucking stupid, so I'm going to play the dumb shit. When you play Orcs, you play Chaos. That's the pipeline for anyone getting into Warhammer at this point.
Honestly, that sounds about right. I mean, I was never attracted to the Imperium because I'm just like, okay, cool.
They're boring.
You're just a group of extremely zealous people that...
It's a fascist theocratic state that is just horrible to look at.
Fascist, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play an evil guy. It's gonna be the weird chaos dudes. There's all kinds of flavors of messed up. Emperor's Children are getting their new codex because they've already got Fulgrim's back, so they're getting much new characters and stuff.
I guess 40K
lore is in a weird spot right now, so I'm hoping this helps alleviate it. And there's, talking about 40K, there's a couple other 40K news, but there are rumors because the next, I think, Space Marine Codex is going to be a Salamanders thing, because on the release schedule there's a picture of some Salamanders. So people are like, they're probably going to bring Vulcan back next, which would make sense. He's feasibly the easiest one to bring back.
What's his story for being gone?
Vulcan is a perpetual, so he can just come back. He's on a respawn timer.
Oh, so he's got like respawn powers. Gotcha.
Yeah. He can just respawn.
Gotcha.
So they're probably gonna. He's literally the easiest one to bring back. Like, oh, he's just back. He respawned.
It's weird saying that, but I'm like, it's Warhammer, whatever, sure.
So they're probably gonna bring him back at some point. He's probably getting the next Primarch back. Is my thoughts.
I threw the other 3 links into. It looks like.
I have one more. I have to find it in my 8 links I had open today. Here it is. We'll just go down the list. I'll post it. Let me post it in chat. So let me pop up to a new browser. We'll start with this guy, the Necromunda dude, who looks beautiful. I love him. He is perfect in every way.
An old man with a tall hat with a big flaming stick.
That flaming stick is a skeleton. There's a skeleton in there.
He's got a skeleton, a flaming skeleton on the stick.
I guess he's like a dude who was trapped in some ruins in a hive city, and he's just like an insane guy. He is for Necromunda, which is a game people forget exists.
Yeah. I only learned about it because I saw someone talking about the terrible development of the video game.
That video game is real bad. That video game is very bad. His ability is cool. The prophet seems to lead a blessed life. None can act against him, either looking upon him with awe or finding they purposely missed. If an enemy model wishes to make a fight or shoot action against action that targets the prophet, they must make a willpower check. If the check fails, they cannot perform the action, and their action ends immediately. That's funny. That's really funny to me.
He's just distracting, like, ha 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 ha! You cannot attack me, for I am the prophet of this age.
The next one is a more important one. Is a kill team for the Ecclesiarchy and Chaos.
Okay.
We're getting some cool units. I think there's finally an updated Cherub miniature coming with this. Another Confessor. They basically just updated Ecclesiarchy minis that are quite nice.
That Cherub looks really interesting on that.
Cherubs got a very much needed retcon a couple years ago. Because remember when Space Marine 2 came out and that game had featured cherubs and people were like, man, that's not okay. The good news is this. I don't remember what edition this was retconned in. It was a while ago. Don't make babies in the servitors. They are vat-grown clones, which is still bad, but not as bad.
I guess people don't really always know about that update, so they're not like...
Yeah, that's because cherubs don't come up very often, unless you are deep into, the Sisters of Battle stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things are weird.
They're I hate them. I don't think they should exist.
The second group there with the weird reverse, the weird leg things that digigrade, is that?
Oh, these are I think these are chaos cultists.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm trying to figure out.
I want to say they're Khorne because they have the Khornate style to them with all the red and skulls. They are Khornate cultists, okay.
Interesting.
So you get a bunch of Khorne cultists, some Ecclesiarchy people who aren't Sisters of Battle for once. You got a new Death Cult Assassin mini, which I think looks like an Assassin's Creed character, and that's very weird to me. And then they announced, naturally, a big piece of terrain that's just a statue of Saint Celestine that I think looks pretty cool. But kill teams are important, because they're I think kill team's a separate game.
Okay. But it would be like a pre-made group of something.
Yeah, kill team is a skirmish game, I believe.
But still, nonetheless, it does, this is how, I guess there might be other uses for it in the idea of it in
yeah, you could use I believe you can use these models in 40K.
Okay. but also might be like this might be an idea of how to balance a team for this group too, like if you would build with other miniatures.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's good for the skirmish game, but it also might be a good like starter point for something too, possibly.
Definitely.
Okay.
Next down the list is the big Sunday preview, which has a bunch of stuff in it. We're getting a new battle tome for Grots. We're getting a Grot army, which are goblin men for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
So we're getting little gobos. I was reading up on these guys. They like hate the sun. That's their whole deal. They want to fight the sun.
That sounds like a goblin goal.
Damn you, son! We're gonna murder you.
I mean, their leader is called Drogs the Sun Champa. So, like, you can kind of get an idea of what they're all about. The Snarl Boss and the Wolfgit retinue. The War Willa.
Wait a second. Drog's wolf? Does it have a knife in its mouth?
Yes. This is why you play wolves and grots. They're just funny. It is literally looking at these very dark and depressing settings and being like, man, this is stupid.
Oh, God. No,
we're also getting, I think, another Age of Sigmar book.
Okay.
And then another TV show animation on Warhammer Plus is coming out, and I'm gonna be real. Warhammer Plus is not worth buying. There's nothing on it. It's not a worthy investment. It's like really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one more. Is the guy I saw yesterday.
Oh.
And this is for the Horus Heresy game. Is we're getting a new named Blood Angel, who has the most drip imaginable.
I can see that there.
There's so much trim. I would hate to paint this guy.
Aster Crone the Shroud Maker. That's a name.
I mean, he's a typical named 40k guy. He probably has done some cool things and then will be forgotten. We'll write a book about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many little adornments, like little gems on his loincloth and the.
This guy looks like a nightmare to paint.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Horus Heresy stuff always kind of looks like this, and it's why I don't have any interest in it, because it seems like this would be... One, it's expensive as hell. And two, they always look like a nightmare to paint, because it's a lot more ornate.
I mean, you could always, I think it was last week we did talk about the Horus Heresy, the TTRPG.
Yeah.
Horus Heresy.
You know, people like those books.
Yeah.
I think a few of them are fine.
There's a lot of, like, the story points seem interesting, but it does seem like there's way too much of it.
50 books. And then there's an additional, 20 books just for one battle.
I just feel like someone, make, 5 that just summarize the entire thing. Just give me 5 books and maybe I'll be
find a.
There's a couple of podcasts that do pretty good summaries of the whole thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say YouTube or a podcast or something.
Luden, I forget what his channel's called. His dude called Luden does a lot of really good lore videos for 40k. And if you want to read Horus Heresy, I'm a big believer in just reading the first 4 books, which is Horus Rising, False Gods, Galaxy in Flame, and Fight of the Eisenstein. And then, if you have a particular legion you're interested in, you can follow their books. And that's kind of it. You don't have to read everything. Because a lot of it's largely unconnected to each other.
So, yep. There's our Warhammer news. Nice. Cool. Alright, so, here's something as a deeper discussion topic that I thought would be an interesting one, because I was thinking more about it as I've kind of vaguely faced this in the new game that I'm working on, but I really didn't dive very deep into it. and that's the different unique cultures in your RPG. And this is more like whether you're expressing these cultures or you're building them yourself, they are a thing. You know, it's sort of like if I'm in Dungeons & Dragons, if I'm, let's say, in the Forgotten Realms. There's a difference between if I'm in Calimport and I'm in the Sword Coast.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be worked differently. In Galarian, difference between being in Cheliax and Osirian, you know? And expressing those very well in your RPGs is not always easy because you don't always know all that information. If you're making your own world, well...
Good luck.
I was thinking about this, and that's why I chose it, because I'm like, we were talking a little bit in the game chat for the Fall of Advent, the game I'm working on. Between, you know, you, Worm, me, Joe, and Tiv, who's joining us for that one. And, like, there are aspects of that world that I have some basics down. I don't really know a lot. Because I didn't, deep dive into writing about it, because most of these places, at least in the time of the game, are gone, but these people, our players, can be from them, so it kind of makes it difficult sometimes.
So one of the things with culture, I always will say, if you're going to make a culture, either do your homework on existing human cultures, or at least use stuff you already know, because it is, as older D&D has shown, it is very easy to just accidentally be incredibly racist and insensitive.
What's funny is my thing was going to be something I was going to say is you're not going to really be able to avoid offending someone.
Yeah, it's to the degree of you want to minimize and be respectful, unlike a lot of older lore for D&D, which is why it's why in Pathfinder and D&D I'm very much like, okay, I know that this place is supposed to be this real world culture. I'm not going to do that because the writers who wrote this did not research this, and it's horrifically offensive.
This is what I was going to say about that kind of topic, is that don't just try and copy a culture because you're not going to be able, you're going to basically just make it terrible, do a terrible rendition. You can take inspiration from it, that's fine. You can make a Japanese inspired location without knowing very much about Japan, as long as you don't make it like, you know,
there's more to Japan than samurai, so just make sure you don't just make it, these are the samurai people.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is probably the most important thing to think about when you're thinking about these cultures is conflict.
Yeah.
Realistically, who doesn't like who? I mean, like, we talked about, like, you know, being racist. There's being racist in the real world, and there's being racist to your other fantasy races from a culture in one of your games to another culture in one of your games. That's okay. In fact, that kind of drives the conflict, and there's always going to be people who dislike other people. I mean,
yes,
that's kind of the whole thing, in my opinion.
There is cultural issues that do exist, and tensions between various countries and peoples and things like that happen normally. And there are, I wouldn't say there are prejudices that do occur. Those don't always necessarily mean that, like, you know, your nation here versus your nation there don't understand it. But you could make something feel more realistic, that, like, you know, oh, my people from this nation think this kind of stuff about people from over here, you know. Is that accurate? It doesn't need to be, but it could show that. But, you know, it's, again, it probably shouldn't be something that you're, like, going to hit your players in the head with unless it needs to come up in the story. You know?
Yes.
That's another thing, too. Like, again, you know, just like in anything, the old racist person who hates another culture for some kind of reason, who shows up in every culture across the world, there's always going to be someone somewhere that hates another culture for reasons, and is old, is a traditional kind of thing.
One of my favorite things... one of my favorite things to do, and every time I do this, I've actually gotten compliments when people like realize like that I did this. Basically, I like 2 truths, a partial truth, and a lie. This is what people believe about something. And you can generalize this or expand upon it. Basically, be like, people from this culture believe these things about this culture, and it's 2 truths, a partial truth, and a lie.
So it does come down to...
Or I should say a falsehood, not a lie. Yeah, and so it's because it's not like they're lying. They don't know any better. They believe it.
And again, that could be a good way if all your people are coming from one culture and you end up somewhere. You are learning about them, like, this is what your people might know about these people. Is it all correct? Maybe not. But this might be what your people know because that's what they were raised with.
A decent amount of experience writing culture in D&D. Because I make a lot of settings, and in those settings I make a lot of species and a lot of nations and whatnot. But I've most recently been working a lot on our good friend River's setting. Tans, you experienced the culture of the bunny people was very colonial American. Like, we're freedom good. We love democracy. If you're not a democracy, you're an asshole. Fuck you. But also very much like a profit-driven culture of every bunny person you interacted with in that game. It was hard to make a deal with them because culturally they view agreements as they need to be the ones who come out on top of it. And stuff like that is nice to add for cultures because that little bit gives insight to the people's history.
Yeah. And that's a good way, but getting a little bit of insight and ideas about, like, people, their history, and stuff like that. It's sort of like, and I think this is, like, using good cultural representation as an example is a good thing. It's sort of like, it's one of the reasons I do like reading up on, like, stuff like, I will spout for days. I really like the TNZ World Guide that Pathfinder did. It does a great job of not only establishing an area, but talking about its people.
Yep.
It, like, presents, it's like, here's their daily lives. Here's what happens in the course of a year. Here's some unique cultural things that you might want to know about them. That presents a really good picture of the people you're working with. And doing stuff like that, like asking your people, like, for a person, what's their daily life like? What, anything major happened in a year? What are some cultural things that they're going to experience? Those 3 questions will help you on your way to, like, building a culture that's something that's unique, different, and certainly speaking, like a word I was going to say kind of left my brain there for a second. Unique, different, and something of your own, that you can work on.
Pathfinder is so interesting to me because it truly does have some really well-written cultures and then some of the most offensive shit you ever read.
I think they've gotten better.
They have gotten a lot better in 2e, but I'll use this as an example because this one is probably a lot. Varisians are horrifically offensive to Romanai people because they are just a horrific stereotype. And they've gotten better with that in 2e, but 1e is really insensitive about it.
Who's the stereotype? Sorry.
The Varisians.
Oh, yeah.
Which are based on the people from Curse of Strahd, which were a much worse stereotype.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's where I've been seeing them more and more, especially the newer stuff. They are getting better because, again, if you ever really look at the Galarian map, it's basically Earth.
It's Earth.
Yeah.
So, the cultures are versions of our cultures.
Yep.
You gonna say something more?
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, like, just don't like. My thought is like, we brought this up, but part of me is like, don't worry about being offensive. Don't be, but like at the same time, like, if you find out that it bothers someone in your game, change it. You know,
yeah. like
I don't know.
If you're not being intentionally malicious, there is no harm done because it's just you're not an expert on everything.
Yes.
You will inevitably write something offensive.
You do not have a full writing team fact-checking you and making sure you're doing okay.
Like, for your homebrewed world, you are eventually going to write something that is offensive or comes off as bad. That's okay. You can rewrite it. If someone notices, like, hey, that's a little bit messed up, or hey, that's not quite how that works on what you based it on, you can always go back and rewrite it.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of that.
Yeah. It's something to keep in the back of your head. You know, like, if you're like, something feels wrong about this, maybe you should double check. You know, but yeah, my thought is just like, we're talking about this, but I think it shouldn't be a main point for creating cultures. It's important to note, but it should not be a focus.
I think that is a truth there too. Like, we all gather inspiration from the things around us. I think that's the thing. It's like for me, what do I know about a culture? Well, from cultures I've experienced or learned stuff about in the past. That's what I know from them. Again, you know, if I haven't learned anything or seen anything, I'm not going to know something. So it kind of comes down to I have to work with what I know. My knowledge isn't going to be perfect on anything.
Absolutely.
I know that. You know, I can at best make the plans and make decisions that I feel like are appropriate and best to what, you know, I've learned. But you're still guessing a lot of ways. Like, I feel like, from my experience and my life, I probably could, you know, express some basic things for Japanese culture. I watch a lot of anime. I've taken classes that have done more than just, you know, teach the language. They do teach, like, cultural stuff there to help you out, because they're like, hey, you know, if you're going to visit the country, you should know these things. Is it perfect? Hell no. But if I wanted to express something in a game that was based on that culture, I think I could do a decent job of not being offensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't mean I couldn't still make a mistake.
Absolutely. Everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah. And I don't have the full picture. I am not raised in that culture. You know, there are things that certainly might be holes in my knowledge, and you're never going to not know that. So again, when you're basing it on something, because again, I think we base what we make on stuff we know. Yeah. The amount you use, the way you use it, is going to just be up to you in a lot of ways. But just figure it out, you know, and hope for the best. And just, as long as you're trying truthfully, just not be offensive, you're good.
So, some actual helpful stuff I want to get into is something. There's a few ways to go about this depending on how deep you want to dive. The thing I said about like the four points, 2 truths, a partial truth, and a falsehood, that's really good for getting how people think about each other, or how people think about a thing. Then you've got like the aspect of like actually building the culture. This is basically, as far as I'm aware, there's no good way about it except to basically be like, answer a bunch of questions. Like, what kind of food do they eat? What kind of, you know, which, you know, if you want to like build a culture, like a believable culture from the ground up, you have to go like, okay, where do they live? What kind of crops do they grow? Then what kind of food can they make from those crops? What do they trade for? What?
A really good method is think about just like the climate they live in. Climate affects culture heavily.
Yep.
So like if they're in a tropical culture, they're most likely the cuisine is going to be more on the spicy side, and things like that. They'll have more of like, basically, like if you think of, oh, this is a tropical nation, you can just be like, what do I know about tropical nations historically, and then you can go from there.
It could be also things like a lot of manual labor is only in the mornings and evenings because in the middle of the day, too hot,
really
humid.
Hot.
Yeah, it's hot and humid. They're smart enough to be like, this would be dangerous to go outside and work, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, if you really want to make a believable culture, there's no other thing than just doing a whole bunch of groundwork. With that said, though, you can make simpler cultures that, you know, are fine for a game with just, you know, filling in the bits you need. In addition, I'll let you go.
I was gonna say, if you're visiting like Village A, that's in this one nation, and it's the only place you're going to, you don't really deep dive into culture.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I think the big political scheme is generally what you want to think about. Who do they not like? What are the conflicts between the nations? Basically, be like. Honestly, something I've heard is basically think of a country as a person and the other countries as other people, and basically figure out how they interact with each other. And then that's a good way to make a stereotype. And then from the stereotype, you can make people either fit or diversify from the stereotype. Because, I mean, you're always going to have, like, the people who disagree with their parent government, and then the people who don't. And then, you know.
Yep.
But if the government is someone who's strict, and if the government person is someone who's strict, and doesn't like to delve with, or doesn't, you know, like people disagreeing with them, then what are they going to do to those people who disagree with them? Push them down. You know? And you can actually do a lot from there with just that mentality of treating it as a person.
Yep. There are a lot of good things you can use for, you know... Again, there are examples in RPGs. There's examples in real life. There's a lot of, like, sources you can go to get you in your mindset. And then, again, that's what we said there is, ask yourself, how much do I need? Am I setting this in, like, is this meant to be the culture of the nation or the place that we're playing? And it's important. Is this like, if my characters are from this one place, are they visiting another place? Do I need that place there? Is this like a one-off for one adventure we're going to be visiting here? Like, if you're traveling through a desert and you happen on an oasis town, how long are you going to be there? Maybe a session? Do you need to, like, dive into depths with their culture? No, but you should have some basics. And that's kind of where you're going to be, is ask how much you need also. And that helps a lot, too.
And I also want to say, like, if you really want, like, to jog some ideas, or sorry, I should say, if you really want some ideas about stuff you can include, like, if you're like, oh, I want to include something unique or something like that, you could also, you know, like, but you don't know what. Like, do I want food? Do I want to include, like, a dance? Do I want to include... honestly, look up a list of world building questions. As weird as it sounds, you don't even have to answer them. Just, like, going through them can be, like, super helpful. You just look up, like, literally just look up world building question list, and you can find, like, a bunch. I literally just did that, and I found a bunch. And it just gives you ideas about, like, okay, well, you know, let's see. How do people get around the city if not by public transport? How about you have, you know, like, unique burrowing beasts that, you know, people can, like, they build little tanks on people. You know, like, it can give you ideas.
Yeah.
You know?
Inspiration.
Yeah.
Which is good. You can seek it in many places.
I just found a question, and suddenly I'm like, okay, well, now I have a weird idea. It's weird how inspiration can strike from those kind of questions.
Yep.
You know, if you want something unique or interesting, that's a way to do it.
Is there anything else that we should add for this topic? I think we kind of hit the basis of, like, things to look out for, what you really need, be ready to change stuff as you need it. What else? Is there anything else for getting unique different cultures? I mean, again, like, stick to the environment, what makes sense for the environment. But you can be very interesting. Like, if it's a magical world, maybe they use magic to overcome different things. Is it a technological world? Maybe it's a weird technology. Maybe it could be something of both. You know, there are things that may not work in our world that might be creative ways to make a culture seem unique and interesting too. You know?
I mean, also remember that people are not, like, people are kind of irrational most of the time. Like, they may have a weird way of doing something which makes absolutely no sense for a reason that literally they don't have an explanation for. It's like, well, this is how it's always been done.
Yep.
You know?
You know, but we always, you know...
culture and tradition. It's like...
we always, you know, on the third Wednesday of the month, wear a shoe on our head. Why?
I mean, why?
It's cultural.
Why do we only drink? Why do we only have pumpkin spice during why do we only have pumpkin spice drinks in October? I mean, there's reasons behind it, but if you just like came to America and you're like, what is with this pumpkin spice? Wait, why wasn't it there last month? You don't know, and like, yeah, you can explain it, but you don't always have to explain everything, and most people won't know.
Yeah.
It's just pumpkin spice is the fall spice. Who knows? I mean,
you don't always have to explain everything. That's the other thing too. So if you have an interesting idea for expressing this cultural group that your players are going to encounter, it's there. And this can also like go through the food, drinks, religious/ceremonial stuff. There are a lot of little ways that you may want to express it. That you can choose which ones are important. Holidays. Like, it's certainly speaking, if your characters are there and you want a celebration to be occurring, then that's what you're creating.
Yep.
It's that celebration. But then that's part of the story. That makes the story is becoming more important with that than the actual culture. Again, like, you're telling a story to your players. The culture is there to make it feel like a world they're interacting with. Mm-hmm. That's the most you have to do, is how much do they need to feel like it's a real world to them, and embrace themselves in the world that they're playing.
Yeah. And here's another thing. If you really want to put in effort, you can find out what your players are interested in and include elements of that. You have someone who's interested in geology, you could like, go and make a thing where it's like, oh yes, this type, oh yeah, they worship this type of rock because they found it like is very good for fertile soil, and it's like what is it called? Oh gosh, now I'm blanking.
It's
what is the phosphorus rock called?
I am blanking on that myself. This is like, oh god, I have to remember something. And I'm bad at it. Memory bad.
That's fair.
I kind of have that. But yeah, no, like, certainly speaking, both for your players and their characters, things that like might be interesting to them would be a good thing too. Like, yeah, because again, like, I could be playing a character like that would have an interest I don't necessarily have, but also like it's an interest that I have. I might be more like inclined to ask something in the game too. That's a little, outside of your character, but still, we do that. That's talking about entire, like, playing your character too much or something. You're always going to bring a little bit of yourself in if we talk about that. So, as you said, like, if I'm personally interested in geology, I might ask some questions. That kind of seems neat. My character might want to be interested in it, but my character also might, like, be interested in stuff too. Like, I'm going to say, like, something that we haven't really had as much opportunity to is in Joe's game on Sundays. Vander is interested in alcohols. He's a dwarf, and he's also had a horrible drinking problem a lot. But he also likes trying new drinks and investigating stuff. Have I had a lot of opportunities to do anything with that? No. But if there was an alcohol presented, it would be interesting. It's like, oh, what kind of drinks are here? That kind of thing, So I know the character would also want to just beyond myself too, and that does say something about the culture. But like the local drinks, this could be like something that's particular to a tavern, but it could also be like, oh, this is the type of ale we have here. This is the cuisine. We make our booze out of this particular type of stuff. That's a local plant.
Oh.
Anything else then?
Potash. Called potash.
Oh yeah. Fair.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I wasn't thinking of that at all, but now as soon as you say that, I'm like, yes.
Also, the reason I got confused is I had phosphorus and I was looking for potassium.
Those are very different.
They are very different.
But they both start with P.
Yes.
I can't think of anything else that's a major point in this entire conversation.
Aside from giving, like, examples, I don't think there's much else we could do.
Yeah, true. Which, again, like, I'm going to say, like, there are a lot of good examples that are out there in various role-playing games do a pretty good job of themselves. If you wanted, like, even games that have particular, like, maybe not the best setting up for it, still the fact is, like, I've said some things about, like, various, there are, like, countries in things like even Pathfinder that aren't as well developed. Forgotten Realms and for D&D, there's mixed bag on what's better developed or not. If you just read up on some place and see what kind of information's been provided, it gives you an idea of some basics. Especially if you see a book that talks about it. It's like, oh, here's some basic information. Here's some things you might know about it. It's good examples that, lead you down a path that this is stuff that's been provided to, GMs, DMs throughout the ages. This is what they've used for it. Gives you an idea where to go.
I am reminded of another important thing. So if you want some other things that are helpful, if you want like just a very small list that help just generalize the country, I would probably argue religion, resources, basically what they import and export, like what they need and what they trade for, and yeah, I mean, I think those two are probably just the most that will probably be involved in a player.
Yeah. They're the ones that most likely would come up as what I would call unique cultural things. What kind of things are being produced here? What kind of goods are major goods? And what beliefs do they have? When you ask those two questions, that's probably the best things if you're looking just for a simple culture for like a small town. At least answer those two questions. There are probably a lot of other questions, develop bigger places you might visit. That's probably really great just to start out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm actually reminded of now that I say it, or that I was thinking of it. The idea of there are basically a few elements: social, political, economic, religious, and military. How do you remember this? Sperm.
Yep.
Anyway, but yeah, those 5 points are it's actually it's literally called, I think it's called like sperm theory or something like that. No, that's something else. Something anyway. But yeah, no, it's actually like, yeah, those are the 5 elements that you need to like think about. Like religion is important, military is important, and military in this context means like a town guard is military for the town. Yeah, economic. I mean, does the town mine? Do they farm? Do they, like, do they fish? Do they build boats? Do they mine stone? Or what is it called? Quarry. Do they quarry stone? That's what I was looking for. And then political and social. Social would be all those little things we talked about, like food and traditions. And then political is literally basically kind of, I think, the thing I mentioned at the beginning, which is all like, how does it work with those around them? You've got to treat a government as a person, and like, how does that relate to other people? It's a good way to like think about that.
Yeah, who's in charge and how do they act around the other countries?
Just do what I do and steal everything from Final Fantasy.
Honestly, steal.
We're all copying Gilgamesh.
Mm-hmm. I've done a lot of that. I stole, like, again, I think I might have talked about it twice before. I came up with a world that used Spelljammer Sky Worlds as the basis, and then I combined that with elements from Final Fantasy VI and Skies of Arcadia, plus a couple of like things based on like ancient cultures from our world. The ancient culture thing is because like I figured I could go very basic for that, and they're all dead. I don't have to worry about insulting anybody. Yeah. So there was something that was very Romanesque.
Unironically,
ancient Rome.
What I do tend to borrow from and steal from is Final Fantasy XIV, because Final Fantasy XIV does something I really like. And every time you enter a new area, whether it be city or continent, the first 10 or so quests are forcing you to interact with the local culture to teach you about it.
That makes sense. It's pretty good. Like, this is a great way to introduce you to the entire thing. So I can see like, if it's going to be something that your players are going to deal with a lot, then having like something that introduces them to it. if you're hanging around the city, well, go to the local place, or have that festival. That festival might be a great way of introducing them to their beliefs and their food and that kind of stuff.
There's a detail in Final Fantasy XIV that's always stuck with me for how I do world building. And I don't know why this specific detail has always stuck with me. One of the cities you go to is a place called Girabanya. It's in the Stormblood DLC. It is a city built on top of salt flats. The game has a decently long portion of the post-expansion story where the entire questline is you setting up a spice trade and teaching you that spice is very important to this city-state. And I think stuff like that is a very good way of doing it.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's a pretty good spot to leave developing cultures in your games and having them different, unique, and interesting. Alright. Why don't we talk about our week in tabletop then? And finish up today. So, last Sunday, I know... How was Joe's game? Was Joe's game versus Joe's game? Oh my god. My brain is like... When was the last time we did Joe's game? What we did?
Yeah, it was last
Worm, save me! My brain is broken.
Last Sunday. It was
I
last
thought
Sunday.
It was, but my brain was just not, telling me.
we spent the whole time fighting spiders.
It was the spider battle. Oh my god. Yeah.
It was, basically, it's kind of fun. I feel like it's kind of fun where Joe, I feel like, just sometimes is just like, well, I'm just gonna prep a battle.
It be that way sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's definitely been
I enjoy it when that happens.
We're having that because it's an easy perk for them. For a week,
I don't mind. Battles are fun.
I think they're fine. I think the thing is, again, he's also getting better at trying to balance stuff. Though I definitely felt like this fight was pretty hard.
I would say, here's the thing about that. They got so lucky. They literally had about a 50-50 chance of hitting us, and they hit us, every time. If you actually look at the numbers, they got very lucky, which did put us on the back foot and really hurt us. Now, with that being said, it was a difficult fight from the get-go as well. So, the fact that they got lucky, did really well, and got really lucky, on top of the fact that it was a very difficult fight, nearly killed us. We nearly party wiped.
It's a thing, too, that, not to bust Joe on this one, just because he thought my game was an interesting encounter. I gotta be honest, I feel like, especially after a lot of the adventure paths I've run, I kind of almost prefer not to have difficult encounters unless it's sort of story-wise. There's so many bullshit encounters in
I kind of do wish he did.
And Crimson Queen.
I kind of wish he did include more plot encounters with this. It's kind of this was literally kind of a random encounter. We were on basically a ship flying through the astral plane, and it got stuck in spider webs, and we had to fight them. There was no plot to it. It was just a fight for a fight.
If this had occurred when we arrived at our location, as we were arriving, I think I would have been better with it too. Instead of in the middle.
The god we're going to seek had a bunch of spiders around it, and we could see the god honestly, that simple change, I agree, would have been much better.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to tie things in super well.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing too. Again, this is the thing because he GM's unsavory a couple of years or something, and this is also not getting a lot of extra experience because it is.
He's also not someone who goes out of his way to learn about GMing. I watch and read a whole bunch of stuff about. I read tons of rule books. I get a lot of opinions about things. I watch a lot of videos how to be a great GM and those kind of things. I like to improve my GMing skills. For the fact that I've actually only run probably about honestly like 6 games, but I improve by leaps and bounds every time. Okay, not that few. I'd probably say 12. Double that. But honestly, as far as it goes, that's not a lot. My big problem is just that I can never get groups of people together. But I consider myself a good GM because I put a lot of effort into improving myself.
Yeah,
but
it's...
improving my GMing skills, I should say. Not improving myself in general. And Joe doesn't. He wants to run because he wants to have fun, which is fine.
Yeah.
But also, he's just not very good at it.
He's very casual about it, and it's sort of it is very different from, me, who tends to run these for entertainment stream a lot more. I'm trying to entertain my players too, but I'm also, trying to do more than just that. So it's a different kind of boost.
Yeah.
Anybody do? Did you do anything on Sunday?
Sunday I did not.
Okay. How about Monday? Did they do anything on Monday?
No, I didn't do any. Well, actually, no. We did do that one thing on Tuesday. I think it was.
It was Tuesday that we did.
Yeah.
Wrath of Shadowrun.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Tuesday because Wednesday was our little meetup, and then Thursday I definitely didn't do anything because I was tired.
Aside from just because I didn't have any games last week, just because River was traveling and my game ended, so I'm waiting on something else to come up.
Yeah.
I did stuff on Tuesday, but we'll get to that. And then Monday, I just wrote lore and played Pirate Yakuza all day.
I'm not gonna lie. The Yakuza series...
It's very fun!
The Yakuza series looks interesting, but out of all of them, Pirate Yakuza, now that I've seen that, I'm this is the one that I'm this is the one I might play. It's sort of like how with me, Elden Ring was my Souls game that I was going to play, because it's this not only is a Souls game, it scratches itches of stuff I like in other ways to combine it together. Pirate Yakuza.
I'm gonna say,
I look at that and I'm I kind of want to. I really like.
Well, all I'm gonna say, if Expedition 33 is bad, Pirate Yakuza is probably gonna be my game of the year. Because it's really good.
So Tuesday, yeah, what happened on Tuesday? I guess we played Wrath of Shadowrun. We're doing a 3 adventure block of adventures.
We fought the we fought the orc. Yeah, the orc. The orc shaman. We kind of destroyed it. It was we did surprisingly well. I mean, we're also getting a little bit better at the game, but at the same time, I also think we just did. We just got we just kind of got a good. Well, the layout itself was kind of bad, but we handled it in a way that was fine.
I'm not gonna lie. I think playing through a campaign of this entire thing is going to make it a lot easier the longer we go on. Now, granted, we've done stuff to restrict things, but we're all already level 2, and we start with pretty good equipment, 2 items, so it puts us on a really good floor. Will it be impossible? Will it be possible to fail still? Yes, but we basically put ourselves in pretty good shape.
Yeah, well, also because the one we're doing right now, we literally get to keep everything.
Yeah,
for future runs, so it's meant to be played in a chain, so it's going to be easier the next time around.
So Momo, what did you do on Tuesday?
So I am in a Stars Without Numbers game, but we're using the Worlds Without Numbers rules as well. It's working out mostly okay.
Okay.
I'm in that game. I'm playing a Necromancer Warrior combo. And basically, the session was we did a bunch of crime in session 1, because of course we did. Jess is in that game, so it's a crime game. And we got attacked by some gangsters who very quickly died. Tragic for them, but sorry, dude. One of the guys was a fire mage, and one of our dudes is immune to fire. So sorry, you're just useless in that fight. Good job. Spec'd out well, random enemy NPC. So I killed a bunch of dudes, and then we left the planet to go look for some alien ruins. They're trying to... Cell's character is trying to, and I quote, find the Illuminati. That's,
All right.
yeah, that's Cell's character. He wants to find the Space Illuminati and get knowledge from them. I don't know where that's gonna go, but you know what? Good
That
for
feels
you.
very Cell.
It lets me do crimes, so I'm fine with it.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. I like playing with Cell, but I feel like you have to play around Cell.
Cell is main character, man.
Yeah.
Got main character energy.
Yes. I used to have that. Then I decided it was too much energy and I got rid of it. It's much more fun just to be the kind of slightly weird background character.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen how I tend to play characters. It's like I'm usually the odd one out of like I will always disagree with every plan because I want you to make backup plans. I'm usually that kind of character.
Yep. I think my most normal character I've had in the last couple of years is Bander. He's still like a drunk bureaucrat. He still would rather not get into a fight. Anyway, so alright, anybody do anything on Wednesday? You know, me, Worm, and Arthur.
Yeah, we had our little discussion, but we really didn't
chat a little
talk
more
about much.
We really do a lot.
Played Warhammer on Wednesday. It was fun. Me and some friends do a monthly Warhammer thing. Where we go to, because we have a friend who has like a absurd amount of armies because he was quite into it for a long time. So we just do like 8th edition. I think is the one we tend to use because I don't like 9th or 10th edition very much because I find it too gamified and streamlined and not like narrative enough.
Okay.
So it was fun. I played orcs. I usually play orcs for Necron.
Yep. Cool. I may do anything Thursday. I do.
Did I do anything Thursday? No, I think I played Owlmanac on Thursday.
I mean, it wasn't tabletop. I did get back to a Civ game that me and Joe hadn't played for like a month. Because I think it was just Joe and I were around, and Joe was like, "We can do something," and I'm like, "Did we have this Civ game we started a month ago?" And we were like, "Oh yeah, we do." Got that. It was just the two of us. Anyway, Friday we did the evening stream, so I didn't have anything tabletop related. Go check that out if you want to see me, Blaze, and work and play some games on Friday night. Anyway, you do anything yesterday night?
Yesterday because I'm a little sick, I spent the night sort of lounging in bed reading a book. Pretty relaxing. I'm reading, I'm starting in the Warhammer Fantasy, so I picked up the ebook of one of the books. It's alright.
Okay. Not quite the Warhammer.
Look, like I could say my complaints with 40k, we'd be here for an hour.
Worm, did you have your Spelljammer earlier today?
I actually did not because, it was basically we had a few people missing.
Okay.
One person's going to see a concert, the other person is visiting family, I think. Something like that, and then even though we have like 8 people, apparently missing 2 people is good enough.
Here's me with 3 people in a game, considering if missing 1 person if I could play or not. Like, I guess it depends on the session. I'm gonna say for now. God.
I mean, it's just a different. Honestly, it's kind of impressive that he gets like that group of people that consistently.
Yes, I will. That makes sense for like a large group of people to be that consistent. That is definitely impressive.
Thankfully, me, Tiv, and Joe do tend to be pretty consistent. Tiv, I think, is the most wild of the cards, but that's also more just because of work and stuff rather than him being flaky.
Yes. Alright. Sounds like it was a interesting week. So, new things on the horizon. Anyway, thank you everybody who joined us today. Hey, why don't you give some shout-outs to things, and we'll kind of end it here. Momo, do you have anything to shout-outs? You popped in here a little later.
Do I have any I don't think I have any shout-outs.
Okay. how about you, Worm? You got your shout out?
Yeah, I'm DiamondWyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm or at DiamondWyrm on Twitter and Blue Sky. If you want to, and I'm also on YouTube, although that's a little bit more complicated for how to find. If you search DiamondWyrm on YouTube, you do find me.
I remember that. It's eventually you get a real boy name, but you start with like a weird jumble of stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They did kind of fix that actually. I
Real
just need to
person.
look it up. Yeah, there's like your actual URL, which is what they've had for a while. But now I do have like at DiamondWyrm 190 something 1 something something something. It's like only a few numbers.
Improved.
Yeah.
You just want it to not be those numbers.
Yeah. So it's still a pain to remember, and I'm not going to bother until I can actually just make my name a thing. Yeah. Next stream will be tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Tend to stream Sundays at 10:30 a.m. PDT, and Monday, Tuesday, and Fridays. Monday, Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. PDT, and Fridays now at 5:30 p.m. PDT.
Mm-hmm. For myself, hey, I should be back on Tuesday. Back to a relatively normal schedule next week, but again, I'll keep people apprised if like things or something like that. My stream's over on Twitch. That's always a great place to see me live. Check out when I'm doing recording tabletop stuff or talking about things tabletop related. Always check out stuff out on YouTube. If you're on one side, go to the other. If you're over on our YouTube side checking this out, a little like, subscribe, and the bell, on that. Hey, I gotta get that shout out to YouTube stuff. You know, social media for me, Discord, Blue Sky, /X. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Thank you both again to Momo Worm for joining me. Some people will probably hopefully be back next week. I should be back next week. I don't think there's anything major on the schedule, so come join us there, and we'll talk more about some interesting game times. But until then, I'm going to say to all of you out there, goodbye, farewell, and I guess I'll be the same. We'll go with that. We'll go with the sound of music. Bye.